And we have indeed queued up Channel 5 and we're on the air back again for the last in this lockdown series for a little while, anyhow, until Friday. So, yeah, for a few days. I can't do missions tomorrow or Thursday, but it's filled a gap. And it's been a place to inhabit, and we are testing here on 160 and on UHF, vk3sl. And good evening to everyone and anyone out there. Hello. And who was that? Hello?
He doesn't want to talk, apparently.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Moved into the mystery caller.
Okay, it might be the mystery caller. Yes, we had a couple of mystery comments sort of happen along the way. That's always a good thing. We don't mind a bit of mystery here. We don't need to all be in sharp relief. We can have our element of mystique. So yeah, it's good to hear from anyone who's wants to partake. Anyhow, so how are you, Frank?
I'm well, thank you. I had my second jab today.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, we've got to tick the boxes.
Consider me thoroughly jabbed.
Okay, you're the proverbial pincushion. Yeah, I've got some good news for you. And that is, well, good news for all of us, really, and that is that we were able to source the Radio Thunderbird series.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, there's at least half a dozen episodes, and which were made for radio, so we can... and they're all on YT, so I'll look forward to sampling one of those later on. They sound like they're very comprehensive.
That's terrific.
Yeah, they've tightened everything up, and they've got some good narrative, and it sounds good at a quick sample. So yeah, that's a good thing. Anyhow, I was wondering if you, Frank, might be able to tell me, what's the Syllabant, the Allen Syllabant situation like?
Let me just swap things around.
Okay, I've made a few small adjustments. I had a half hour off earlier on today, and I was mucking around with it. And it's a little bit futile because you can't really sample much on the SDRs, and it's the problem is probably more for wideband listener, singular.
I would say I'm getting slightly less than I used today.
Okay, well, I've made a few adjustments to the processing, and I'm hoping that that's satisfactory and it's okay.
I'm really not in a position to give you a good
No, it's all right.
report.
I'm still using the Kodan. It seemed to hold up okay last night. And of course, there's that sense of what can I improve? What can I improve? How can I improve things? And a lot of it is an exercise in futility, but it's worth a go. So yeah, anyhow, I'm noticing on the SDR it looks a little bit stronger. I'm putting a little bit more processing oomph, and I've changed the peak of the pre-emphasis curve. I can sort of modify that. And so it's peaking now at about just over 3K rather than 10K.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly getting just as much top end.
Okay, yeah. I think there's something else in the system that's sort of regulating that as well. There's a couple of processors. I'm not sure what effect the other processor has. But anyhow, I'm happy that it's holding up.
Good afternoon.
Oh, g'day, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
How are you?
Yeah, good. And I just thought, hearing you chatting while I was booting up my audio system to feed these things, I quickly had a listen on 160, but I'm afraid I can't shed any light either because I've got so much local noise. It's cutting it to pieces. But
sure.
My only comment, and it's nothing your end, it's because of the big wind. There's a lot of QSB on 70, but that's because the antennas are moving around.
Oh, look, I can appreciate that.
70 sounds good. It's just, lots of QSB.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very, acutely aware of it's been it's just this moment came back from a walk, and it was really wild and woolly outside, but nice to be in the elements. Quite enjoy walking when it's a dynamic environment. So all good. Thank you for that. And 160. We're trying out another system, Frank. We're trying out the Kodan, which is what I usually use for FM missions.
Okay, but you're obviously using a different exciter then altogether.
The exciter itself, I can actually use it as a modulator as well. I can use it for AM as well as FM. So that's what I'm doing. And long as I don't go over about 45 watts, it seems to, or watts of carrier, it doesn't do that horrible negative compression thing and turn into single sideband.
Because of the PA, you need really, at 45, what are you looking at? 90, you need 180 of output to make that work correctly, I guess.
Exactly. So, you can only push these things so far. So it is it is a compromise in one sense, but in the other sense, it's probably better than the old B-MITs, which is very agricultural and had a number of issues. So this is probably a simpler, cleaner and for the local listener, probably okay. And interestingly, it can still be heard interstate. So that's quite satisfactory. So, we'll persevere with this for the time being. Anyhow, but the situation is that I've got to go back to the coalface. I'm a bit indignant about this. I mean, it's a mixed feelings because, I certainly don't want to be in lockdown forever. And but I also don't like being in bureaucratic environments, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yes. It's one of the great things is you're sort of at arm's length from a lot of bureaucracy when you're in your own zone. So that's something I do enjoy. But, but look, it's not an easy way to teach on the longer term, and you can't set complicated goals with when you're not able to give a full level of support, comprehensive support. So it's the way it is. Back to the coalface, back to it's a pseudo-reality because we can't still have visitors and there's so much we still cannot do. So we're sort of, but I noticed the ski fields are opening up, so that might be a good thing.
Yes, I'm awaiting the results of my COVID test now.
Oh, good for you.
Already went out, did my last bits of shopping and got the test, so hopefully I'll get them early tomorrow and then I can go, and I was just spoken to the lodge managers and stuff. So
tremendous.
So there's,
okay.
It's all changeable still, but anyway, the plan is to go and we'll see what happens,
Yeah, for sure.
So hence I'm going to listen in. I'm going out just outside the door here and keep sorting some gear and packing.
Yeah, fair enough. No, it sounds like
there's no distance limitation, so that's not a problem. So you're planning to go ASAP free?
Oh, I have a booking that's current. So had this not occurred, I would be up there now. But so it's just delayed going up. So that's the plan. As soon as I've got a clear test, I can go.
Sounds like it's looking good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Oh, well, I wish you well. I hope it'll.
Thank you.
I hope it lasts well. I was reading in the paper
you bet.
The snow is quite. There's obviously a lot of snow
in there. 1.5 meters.
Yeah,
and the roads are fully covered. Ski out. Yes.
Gosh, how about that? And they're having to prepare, sort of work in earnest to prepare everything for the upcoming ski season. So
I imagine too for the people up there, because the lifts have not been really turning for a few weeks, then they're going to have to de-ice everything and get them all going again.
I imagine it would be quite a business. Oh well, good luck. I hope it all works out for you, and we'll look forward to your company when you do get back, and we'll probably just continue with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday programs from this point, simply because of my situation, but that's no big deal. It's not that different to what it was earlier in the year.
Well, let me know when you do, just a quick text, because when I'm up there, what I can do, I'll endeavour to go and just have a listen on 160.
Oh, okay.
Because in the vehicle I can the code in. Yeah, I should be able to pull it up.
Okay, sure.
Might even just be SSB, but I'll just see what I can hear.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know.
Kind of on the wrong side of the hill, but you never know. I still might get in.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't think there's any other agenda, so there'll be something humming along at this time, and the late night thing will certainly be going ahead. So, if you feel inclined to have a listen in, but
you might even get a bit of early skywave for it.
Well, it's also a bit of early, walk out down to the car park where the car is and, de-ice it.
Yeah, well, that's right. You don't want to be bound to anything. But, no, if it works out, I'd be interested to know. But, of course, I'm only running 40 watts at the moment, so of AM. And that's the way it'll probably stay for a while. Sounds
like you need a nice big larb.
Yeah. No, things will move forward at some point. It's just trying to get leaps and bounds. All right. Well, good luck with things, and it's nice to hear from you.
And I'm listening.
Okay.
vk3sl, vk3op.
Cheers. Thanks, Frank.
vk3op, vk3jr with vk3sl.
Fine and mild. Well, yeah, that's it. Now, Frank, you might be interested in this. I was going through these transcription discs, and amongst them, there's a group here called Bernie Richards and his Band of the Stars, it says. Now, I'm not sure if this is a pseudonym, but it is very, very Bach-oriented. And it's got me intrigued, and I'm wondering if it is indeed a pseudonym, who it might be. is it early Jacques Lossier, or is it somebody else? I don't know. And so this has got me fascinated. But does the name Bernie Richards, does that mean anything to you?
No, nothing.
No, okay. So...
UCO started, I don't know, in the 70s, I think. 60s.
Oh, did he really? Okay, so it wouldn't be him. This would be from the 50s. But there's a couple of tracks which are quite inspired by JSB, and it's not jazz, but it's sort of, well, I don't know how you sort of, it's probably more light music, but quite fascinating, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. So we'll cue it up. We'll have a listen to one of these tracks now. Track number 3, 1, 2, 3. It says Minuet in C. Now, as I said, I sampled it before, and I thought this is something that unlike anything I've heard before. So we'll defer to this now. These are Program World transcription records, 16-inch records, and I think they're made for 2GP by AWA. They're pressed from masters from the USA, but very possibly they are pseudonyms, or the artists are working under aliases. That's the word. I struggled with that yesterday. Yeah, let's have a listen. Might be it.
Interesting.
Yes, quite interesting. I'm just trying to look him up now to see. It does mention here. Oh no, Bernard Richards piano songbooks. No, that wouldn't be it.
A quick step that I'm in your ear, I think.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
It still sounded very good.
Yeah, it did. Really quite sort of charming, isn't it?
It certainly.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's not really barking, but it's sort of got that sort of pseudo-baroque ambience to it. We'll put another one on. See what you think of this one from the same source. So
the old chopsticks.
It certainly is. And I still can't find any information about this group at all. So I'm presuming it's a pseudonym. It's a pretty refined ensemble.
Yeah, they're good. The accordion player's terrific.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's not easy to play in parallel motion that well. So fascinating material. Some nostalgia from with an unknown source, really.
A good counterpoint in there.
Yeah, there is. That's right. So it's sort of got that textual sort of equivalent to Baroque music, I thought. I'll play the rest of them because there's a few others here and we can comment in between. They're locked grooves, so they just need a nudge.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, so here we go. Just giving it the push into the groove. Let's have a listen. Again, Mr. Richards and his band of all-stars. Yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah, Minute Waltz.
Yeah, the shopper.
Yeah, the upbeat version. And I'm intrigued by this group. And I was trying to work out the instrumentation, obviously rhythm accompaniment, but accordion, clarinet, maybe two accordions, maybe piano. I don't know. I don't think there's a piano there. Maybe it's accordions.
Mainly accordion and clarinet, isn't it?
I think so. But they're pretty in sync, aren't they?
They're beautifully in sync, and they're doing hard stuff in sync as well.
That's right, exactly. And it's really good pulse. They're
right with it.
They certainly are. So, any listeners that know anything about Bernie Richards, the thing is, with all these transcription records, especially the material that came out on their syndicated labels, it was often well-known artists working under pseudonyms. So that was certainly the case with all of the those recordings of Jamie's, the Vitatonics. That's right.
Yeah.
Vitatone transcription records, the hi-fi ones. Yeah, well, they all were pseudonyms. Every single record had there was a sort of a way to work it out because the initials of the listed band appropriated that of the real musician. So Bob Crosby would be BC, with Bernie Cummins or something. It would be something like that. So that's the way they dealt with it. But I have a feeling these are the same because there's sort of these names bandished on the label, but a lot of them don't resonate at all. Others do, like the recordings we played yesterday of Xavier Cougar. Obviously, he was maybe he was able to get a particular contract or contract of a different kind. I don't know, but they're interesting. I've got to spend an afternoon and put all these world records up on YouTube because it's quite good material. And I'll put another one on so we can keep moving through them. There's only a handful, and there's another track here. I can't see the label from this point, so we'll just listen in.
mandolin was good.
Yeah, it's sort of a nice little eclectic ensemble.
That's a little French tune called Pigale.
Oh, yes, it is too. Yes, it is. It has got a very continental feel about it, doesn't it?
Very much so. I think Charles Trenet sang that originally.
Oh, really? So he was famous for La Mer, wasn't he?
He was.
It was his big hit.
He wrote it.
Ah, right. Okay.
Paula sang it.
Yeah, I know he was singing that right up to the end. It's like one of those songs that just
Carried him to his finality.
Yes, it just stuck with him.
Good song, that.
Oh, it's a wonderful song. I love it. It's great. Another very French track. Well, look, we've got two more on this transcription disc, and it's all very convenient because with the locked grooves, I can just give it a nudge and it'll kick in. So let me see. Can I see the label while it's spinning? What does it say? The Object of My Affection is the next one. So we'll listen in again to whoever it is, under the name of Bernie Richards and the Band of All Stars. And this is vk3sl and vk3jr testing. There we go.
Very pretty.
Yeah, it is. The Object of My Affection. It's all very light and breezy. Very breezy outside today.
Certainly is.
Yeah, so we're just testing and playing some original source material. And in this case, 16-inch transcription vinyl pressing from the 50s on a world record program disc, courtesy of 2GB. So, yeah, just trying things out now. I'm just also had a quick listen in on the SDR, and it seems to be holding up. Hope I'm not too sibilant out there in the for the wider band listenership. I've made a few small changes. I'm able to use asymmetric modulation with this processor. So,
the silibant's pretty bad.
You know, is it,
Listening on the AR7 and all that. Yeah,
it's a pity, isn't it?
The UHF's fine, but you need to put roll it off going into the 160 or something.
Yeah, I'll need to make further changes there. I can.
It shouldn't be doing it.
I don't know why.
Maybe it's trying to push too much out of it or something. And
well, maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm pushing. Or maybe if I wind back a bit.
I think it might make all the difference.
Well, let's see if I can just wind back the power out. Maybe that's as simple as that. I don't know.
At the level of modulation.
Well, modulation. I put a sine wave in at 80%, and then I'm that's on 0 dB, and I'm only I'm not exceeding that very much, so I don't think that would necessarily be what's going on. But I think if maybe I'm just pushing the code down a little bit hard with all this processing. Maybe that's what it is. I'll notch back a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like a cheap
cassette tape in all the treble splats.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
like that.
That's what I thought this afternoon when I was listening on the SDR. I thought, I can't seem to get rid of it. And I was trying everything. I was winding back. But look, what I'll do is I'll make a bigger adjustment on the exciter and see if I can just put out less power. Maybe it's just that I'm saturating the codan. I'm just pushing it too hard. But it didn't seem to be flat topping the sine wave. But maybe it's a different characteristic on speech.
Put 6K in and see what it looks like in the
Yeah, that's
thought.
That's
what you need to do.
Yes, probably 6K is more the sibilant zone, isn't it? But look, I'll back off a little bit. I'll play this next track and I'll knock back
the music's fine. It's just the speech.
His speech,
if you put something in your mic channel, just turn that down because it's okay on the music.
Well, how about I've got my mic channel down now? Is that better?
Just hang on.
Hello, test 1 2. It just doesn't look as strong, but maybe it's. I can change my headphone output, so maybe I'm just pushing too hard through the mic channel. Maybe that's better. Maybe it isn't. The next step will be to just wind the power back.
Well, can't you just turn down your EQ in the mic channel on the?
No, I haven't got EQ on it separately. That's the problem with this desk. That's the.
Because you only got that
yes, I've got the old RME desk. Otherwise, I would have all of that flexibility, which I don't. But I'll have to look into this. Well, I'll wind back a bit of power anyhow and see if I'll see if we can just work at 30 watts instead of 40, and maybe that'll make a difference. But I'll put another music track on and then we'll go from there. But thanks to you, Feedy's back. It's much appreciated. vk3sl.
To be or not to be, quote Shakespeare. You've heard that saying, it's nothing new. To kiss or not to kiss your sweet lips, that is the question. What shall I do, my darling? For when you love forever and walk together throughout the tender years. Only the stars above can give the answer to be or not to be in love. To kiss or not to kiss your sweet lips, that is the question. What shall I do, my darling? For when you love forever and walk together throughout the tender years. Only the stars above can give the answer to be or not to be in love. To be or not to be in love.
Yeah, apparently that was Bernie himself on that, vocaling on that. That didn't do much for me, that track, but the others were quite okay. All right, well, we've wound the power out. Now the carrier's on about 30 watts now, but it's probably no different. But
I can't think any different.
No, well, it's all about sort of a wideband thing. But I'll have to put some EQ or do something creative with the channel. I can put a line into the channel.
That is much better. I listen on the
it's better, is it?
wireless outside.
Yes.
And inside on the AR7, and
right.
the spats are much less now.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's made quite a big difference.
Well, there we go. It's obviously about sort of plosives on the voice, and in relation to the power, I was probably pushing the code down a bit too hard, and that's what was doing it. So
well, that's really good.
Yeah, but look, I'm down to about 30 watts. So I'll just keep going backwards and backwards, and eventually I'll be doing QRP missions.
A pristine 3-watt signal.
That's right, exactly. Anyhow, but if it's a cleaner signal and it still can be heard.
It sounds really good in the super wireless.
Okay,
and,
right.
with a boom speaker and lots of treble and stuff without splats. It sounds really good.
Oh, very good. Thank you. That's nice to get that feedback. And I heard from Mr. O'Neill today, Dave.
Yes, Mr. Roller.
Yes, Mr. Roller is doing a big talk and a history on Bayer and Roller. I think he might be preparing a book or something, and he's starting off with a talk, and he's preparing the document which he's going to put up on the website. And he's been able to get in touch with Max Bayer's son. And he's got all these photos, and so he'll, apparently there's all sorts of interesting pictures of the workshops and the manufacturing side of things. So we'll look forward to seeing those.
Yes, that'd be excellent.
Yeah, so we'll get some Bayer pictures. So he's keen to get some good quality photographs of Bayer equipment that he doesn't have. So I'll have to try and set up something and get some good pics. And,
yes, we've got the Mark 1 there.
There's a Mark 1. I think, he's got a huge collection, but there's just a few things here that he doesn't have. I got that Roller, the 77 stereo, with the 10-inch adapters on it. So I don't think there's many of those around. So I think he might be keen to photograph that. And I don't think he's got a 33. I've got one of those up on the shelf. So we'll get a snap of that as well, and maybe there's a couple of other small Bayer accessories that he wants photos of. So we'll. Oh yes, I've got those. They're underneath. I've got to get rid of them because they just take up so much space. But under the desk in the garage, there's two huge Bayer transcription turntables with the big flywheels on them. They're used for cutting lathes.
Right.
And they're absolutely enormous. They're just completely ungainly. I could never integrate them in here. They just take up too much space. So next time he comes out or someone, I can, or museum or something.
Do they actually work?
Oh yes, they did. I used to, back in the 90s, I had one working.
So they're probably worse than an ordinary Bayer, but they're meant to have super low wow and flutter, I guess.
Yes. Oh, they've got a huge. In fact, I remember when I got it, the guy thought it was a potting wheel.
Yeah.
It looks like one.
Well, that's the RCA's had them as well.
Yes, a clone of the RCA 70C.
And I think they worked out all that mechanical rubber interface, all the universal joints, all the big heavy flywheel actually
clutches
made it
and
worse.
things. Yeah, right.
And like a Silkron turntable's better.
Yeah.
With just a rubber band, although I think the Bayers and things are pretty good.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
I think yours isn't a broadcast one; it's just a rumble.
No,
box.
the one I use in here, it's a low profile, and that's the thing. I mean, as is yours, but these ones out in the garage would probably be better. But I haven't got room for something that takes up it's effectively the size of a washing machine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and it's crazy. They're great big things, and. I just have to...
half horsepower motors and everything.
Oh, look, it is. It's got a huge, like a washing machine motor at the bottom with a stroboscope on it, and it's got a clutch and a huge flywheel. The whole assembly would weigh over 50 kilograms. It's really heavy. I mean, they were made for cutting lathes. But there's a photograph.
Yeah.
There's one photograph which Mr. O'Neill sent me, because he knew I had these turntables. I'm very happy to pass them on to him. But he was keen to... he wanted to get some pictures of them because he's found a photo in the Bayer factory of about 20 of them all being manufactured, and they must have been sent out for cutting lathes or that type of work, I think. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
See, the RCA ones used to just be in studios on wheels.
Well, maybe it was like that.
Yeah, look, I don't think they were cutting lathes because remember the Neumann cutter had nothing like that.
Oh, okay.
It had a big flywheel, so like normal motors.
Right. Yes, they're all quite integrated, aren't they, those Neumann cutters? Yeah,
so
it's true.
I don't know what... They would have been okay. Look, you can do cutting on a normal Bayer anyhow.
Yes, of course.
I mean, the torque's amazing.
Yeah.
I think they were just... An engineer went overboard and just designed...
Well, I think it was just...
silly.
Yeah, I think they're just copying the American... what they were doing in America, and of course everything was just so majorly over-designed over there, and we just tried to do the same thing without...
Well, the BTR-1 tape recorder had the same thing. It had a big washing machine motor underneath, massive flywheel, driving up through shafts to the capstan and everything to get super low wear on flutter. But what they found out, it was just useless because you had all sort of harmonics in all that system. And it was actually making it worse.
How interesting.
And they just went to having a motor either directly driving the capstan like a buyer,
yes,
or via an intermediate shaft with a rubber wheel or a belt was much better. To separate the motor with a belt is the best way than having, like a truck.
That's right.
Transport, a transmission system in there.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's an interesting point how you get all these sympathetic vibrations and harmonics and all sorts of spuri which had come up through the system, no matter how refined it was.
Yeah.
And these things are all integrated, and the rubber gaskets are would only limit so much. They'd have a fairly narrow queue probably. So,
that's right. And I think, if you did a mathematical analysis, that probably wouldn't work out too well. But, like a buy is simple. It's just a motor rubbing on one wheel and straight to the thing. There's nothing to go wrong. And
straight to the
vibrate and everything.
That's it. Yeah, interesting point. So, yes, I think they settled on the sort of lower profile buyers like you've got, and I use the generic version here. But, yes, and these big monster machines, I don't think they lasted that long. But it's bizarre that I've ended up with two of them. But, he wanted photos of them. But they are so complicated, and this clutch system, and it's even got a little copper gasket thing, so it can be slightly askew. And when you're changing speed, and it won't alter the directness of the shaft, it's quite involved.
Are they in good condition?
Well, one used to work really well, and I used to have it mounted in a big cabinet in the 90s. I didn't play many records in the 90s because I had most of them in storage, but I had this set up at an old cabinet which I cut a hole in, and it took up the entire cabinet. And that was the main turntable I used, and it worked really well. It was absolutely fine. It was mainly for 78s and transcription records, but it played beautifully. But and then had a few small issues, I think, and then I just retired. It was just too ungainly, just too big.
The SP10 is about 100,000 times better.
Oh, absolutely. It's a totally different generation of technology. I mean, it's the thing, isn't it? Things moved on in leaps and bounds. They worked out that they could quartz lock things. I mean, look at how elegant the design and how simple the design of a Nagra or a Stellavox is.
They are very simple inside.
Yeah.
When you look at some of the early designs, and as I said, that engineers went overboard. I think Nagra and such had a look and thought, well, how can we simplify this?
Yep.
And the performance is as good as anything. Amazing.
Yes, it's clever with that little tachometer feedback loop thing. It's very contained, and it obviously has a really excellent stability.
That's right. Well, they're used for film work and everything. Have to be synced up. So
totally.
They're amazing machines.
Yeah.
And,
No, they're excellent.
You've got a couple, haven't you?
I got one Nagra, and it's sort of I picked it up really cheaply, and it has a few issues. The batteries had corroded at some point and done a bit of damage, but it was fine. It still works, and occasionally I'll pull it out and pretend I'm being a mild-mannered reporter. And
Oh, you need the wind-up roller one. That's the buyer one.
I know.
Doing Newsbeat.
That would be fantastic. I've thought that would be a really interesting machine to have. A wind-up. The CE made them, didn't they?
They did.
Commonwealth Electronics, and I know Mr. Fleming, who's probably listening to this, knows a lot about those. He used one, and he borrowed one, I think, from one of the museums for one of his photo shoots. And
now, talk about Newsbeat. I was listening to one of your old replays.
Oh, yes.
And you played the Newsbeat blooper tape.
Oh, right.
I can't believe you put that on air. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
The language is, I don't think I would even put that on.
No, well,
amazing.
I don't think I listened to it first.
You mustn't have. It was just. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's got lots of F's and C's and things in it.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, I know. It's full on.
You said this is terribly, and it was just. Even I was shocked.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the mild-mannered people.
Yes, that might be the moment I lost all my listenership.
I think I missed it. I'll have to get it
Yeah,
get a copy.
It's really raw. It's terribly raw. And I remember being shocked at the time. I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to upset a few people. It's really rough as guts.
That's
right.
And
but I don't know where that came from. I think it was on YouTube or something.
And of course,
yeah,
probably 90% they couldn't have broadcast. It would be like that.
There must be a lot on the scrappy floor.
Sounds quite funny, but I'm glad they kept that bit at least.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, there's very few of them in existence. There's only literally a handful out of all the thousands of news beats.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I think they will. I don't know if the tapes were reused, because they must have all been on tape.
Yeah, and tape was expensive.
Yeah, or maybe there is an archive with them all sort of sitting there, being kept away from the. I don't know.
It would have been just a weekly thing. Once 1 week's done, another one's done.
Yes, they would have just wiped the tape.
They don't think about it. It's just a job. And who's going to pay for the tape?
That's
they
right.
didn't have enough money to keep cans of tape, so the would have gone over them.
Yes, they would have just reused their material. Yeah, I think Mr. Hare has a couple of news beats up on his site, and last I looked, I think I played them at different times, but they're good value. They're certainly.
It does show the times and the reporting, and even the ordinary ones are shocking.
Yeah, I know.
They are. The thing about the program was that 1 week was just about the same as the next week, and it was just people getting injured, and then he'd come up and talk to the injured people and say, "Are you feeling okay, sir?" And sir is just about to die.
I know.
Well, I think some people did.
It was just a question of, and occasionally you get the odd drunk. I think I have heard this particular one Dave was talking about. It was rather raw, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a sort of a mob of drunk people that sort of descend on him, and it's got some pretty raw moments, to say the least.
That's life, yeah.
Well, it is. But there must be an archive of them somewhere out there. But it's very much of the times, and that's the thing. It's sort of...
you can't imagine them doing it now.
No, you just wouldn't get away with it. It's just, but which is interesting, because we sort of get away with a lot of other things. We're sort of so out there with our social media and everything, yet no one would dare go as far as Newsbeat went with indiscretions and sort of profiling...
privacy issues apart from anything else.
Sorry?
Privacy issues apart from anything else.
Yeah, I think so. But, in another sense, we sort of don't have any privacy anymore.
No, it's all crazy.
Everything we do is being monitored. Big Brother.
Big Brother is watching.
All the time.
That's right.
Yep. With every single search you make, everything you do, everything you type into the URL bar, it's all out there. It's incredible. So, but it's just more insidious, perhaps. Maybe Newsbeat was just the way, people were more transparent in a way.
You knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, look, there's no privacy, and they now you're meant to dob on your neighbours if they're doing something wrong. So it's,
well, I suppose we're back to that in a sense.
Yes, it's not very good, and so I think it's just. People would expect it. It was probably quite a popular program, I should imagine.
I think it was huge.
Sunday morning, you see, you're looking for something to listen to, and people have been out Saturday night and they're getting over their hangovers on Sunday morning, and tune in and see what happened.
That's right. Yes, and but there was so many car accidents in those days.
That's it. Yeah.
Thousands of people killed a year.
But just imagine sitting there waiting for the nod to go out to a car crash to report the event. On spec. I mean, it's a sort of a horrible.
It would be terrible.
It would be terrible. I mean, you'd be seeing the worst of the worst.
Oh, yeah.
And, they must have been pretty hardened individuals, because I think a lot of police suffer from the post-traumatic side of seeing dismembered people and horrible stuff.
They never balked at the issue of, no matter how ill someone was, they didn't mind going up and expecting him to talk to them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was sort of expected. Became sort of culturalised, really. Became a bit of a meme.
2 words before you die, sir.
Yeah, that's it.
Immortalised.
Yeah, that's right. Your final words. Yeah, crazy.
But there's probably, buy up old tape recorders. There might be a tape of Newsbeat on there that somebody recorded.
It's always worthwhile. You just never know. In fact, I was going through a box of old reels I picked up on junk machines, which I'd since thrown out, and I found a whole lot of Bob Dyer the other day. So
right,
yeah, it's there.
Howdy, customers.
Yeah. So that's a little. I mean, it's not a whole lot. It's about a few minutes, but it's there. And there's on one of those tapes. I haven't looked. I've got to find this. But one of the tapes I got at that junk store in Aroostook Road, you might remember that place, Dave, where we got one of them has got an hour of 3DB in the 60s. And so just the off-air, just an afternoon program. But it's, that's probably the only example of that. I can't even remember who it is. But And there was quite a bit of Evans there, which I think I played at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so things like that you never know. So...
Yeah, I think I've got an old 3DB program from the 60s, Tony Doherty doing a top 40 show.
Yeah.
And the ads and the news are interesting.
Yes.
And they have actually various subjects on the news back in those days. It was quite interesting. So yeah.
Yes, filling up your car on a Sunday at the remember Mr. Stanton Hicks and his newscast, his news bulletin. And you don't get petrol on a
Sunday.
On a Sunday.
You get fined for. That's right. What was it? The coin-operated service station.
Yeah.
He got fined for vending petrol on a Sunday.
That's right. Yeah.
And they had to take it to court to prove that, as an automatic vending machine, wasn't in the regulations, wasn't an official service station or something.
Between the cracks.
It was like that in Tasmania a few years back.
Right. Yes.
There was that fella Frank Bentelurick who used to open his hardware shop on a Sunday illegally.
Well, he went to jail for that. Yep.
He did.
We sort of became an anti-hero in a way for doing it. And I think, it's probably one of the trailblazers who helped move things forward.
It was ridiculous. That's not that long ago that you couldn't buy hardware on a Sunday. Now look at all the Bunnings, or normal times. And you go to the supermarket and the meat bits cordoned off with tape. And certain things you buy, certain things you couldn't, because the butchers didn't want the supermarket selling meat on Sundays, because they wanted to have Sunday off. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way it was.
And you go in and you say, look, I want to buy that meat. No, you can't. Can't buy meat. But it's there in the fridge. No. It just doesn't make sense.
Crazy stuff.
It is crazy with the benefit of hindsight. But at the time, people were completely... That was the normal. That was the way. And you just had all these restrictions. I remember not being really peeved because I couldn't go down. I couldn't get hardware on a Sunday when I needed to fix something or do something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's when people are home doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's right. No-brainer.
Yeah. After lunch on Saturday, everything closed.
And you'd remember, Frank, like when you're playing with your crystal set, and you'd find that on Sunday, all the programs were church services, boring old, dull music. And there was no pop music in the top 40 on a Sunday.
Terrible, I know. It gradually changed, of course, but in the bad old days, it was really bad. I used to find it depressing, actually.
I did too. I used to find Sunday, I'd come home and listen to the radio normal. Sunday, because you had to go to school the next day, and you turn the radio on Sunday and still the top 40 music, or you heard just boring church stuff, or just what are those
those hymns of praise type programs?
Yeah, that type of program. Yeah. Or just old songs like someone like Harry Lauber or something.
Yeah,
that
variety sort of programs. Yeah.
Just boring as it's crap. No one would have listened to it. Well, I suppose they had to. They had nothing else.
Yes.
But it was just all rubbish.
And, of course, Mr. Karger had his music for pleasure. Was that on Sunday or Saturday?
Oh, that was much later, though.
That was, okay.
Yeah, we were talking like late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, this is before my past.
Yeah, and it was a totally different thing. Like, Saturday was all racing and football, so there was no music. And then Sunday was just dirge music and community hymn singing, that sort of stuff. And I used to get this feeling of just an old-fashioned hall with these geriatrics singing, and it was this picture I had in my head, and just it was, as you say, Frank, it was quite depressing.
It was. I used to crave just something. I guess just a bit of pop music or something to just lighten things up, because it was just like a big pall over everything.
It certainly was. A big pall, as if. I suppose, what was it? Was it a rule, or did the churches say you couldn't play upbeat music on a Sunday. Who knows what it was, but it was really pretty depressing. And so anyway, that probably changed up probably by about 63, 64. I think that started to change.
It did, although you did get pop programs in the 50s a bit on Sunday afternoon. I mean, 3UZ used to have Brian Taylor.
All right.
And but that was, a bit of a one-off. And in the evening it was hopeless. All you could get was 50 and over.
Yes.
Songs of yore, or if you're into classical music, you go and hear dear old Dr. Floyd, of course.
Oh well,
yeah.
He's a living dynamo.
And 3DB had the Dunlop hours, 11 till 1 on Sunday morning, or Sunday night, Monday morning. Well, I think it was every night of the week, wasn't it? The Dunlop hour.
Yeah, 11 till 1 every night.
From now on, it's Dunlop. The Dunlop hours.
Well done.
So what sort of material in the Dunlop hour?
It was classical music.
Oh, okay. It was a classical program, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. And that was on 3DB, was it?
On 3DB.
Ah.
And Frank, you'd remember on Sunday night they had the Adorna Love Bug going up the Adorna corner up on the Collins Street Hill. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I certainly do.
Yes, it's amazing. Sunday, I'd turn the radio on at 11 o'clock at night, and you'd hear the Adorna Love Bug, and then talk about they used to sell rings, wedding rings or whatever.
Mm.
And the sponsors used to block out a few hours, like the old time thing, and just promote their stuff.
Well, a lot of jewellers advertising them. They had the Adorna and then Catanars, the jewellers on 3KZ.
Oh, yes. Yes, there was a lot of that. Mm.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, so just boring missions all day Sunday. Because they wanted everyone to be the same. They wanted everyone to sort of be reverent. And
another jeweller was Farron Price. I wonder if he must have been related to the pianist.
I think so. I think that's a part of the same family.
They were jewellers.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Oh, yes, the old days of wireless. You couldn't just go and listen to a podcast or whatever.
No, we have so much choice now.
Can you imagine? You could have come on 160 wasn't here, but you could have just come up on the band and played pop music and have top ratings.
Could have. Yes.
I'd have listened to it.
That's what they did off boats in Britain.
That's right, yes, well, because they had even worse.
Well, they had even more tighter constraints.
Had to listen to Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah, that's right. Then that's a very interesting social development, all of that, and how oppressive the BBC were, and how and how it took so much creative will on the parts of commercial stations to create all of that culture.
It was, in some people say, oh, what a great institution the BBC was, blah, blah, blah. And look, it's fascinating, and the technology and everything, but they were crap. I mean, they hindered creativity up until, well, it was just terrible. And we had a whole 60 million people completely, the only electronic media was from one organisation.
Yeah,
how restrictive is that?
Yeah, well, it's like sort of Soviet times and China and places. It's just like that. It's a form of control.
Yeah, and when the war started, they had, like America and Australia, most countries, democratic countries, kept their radio networks. They censored the news and weather a bit, but basically they kept it as normal. The BBC, they had 4 networks. They closed most of them down and merged them into one network that ran for about 2 hours a day with just government propaganda for a year, and people had no entertainment.
Yeah.
It was piano music, organ music, and official news that was let through by the censor.
It's outrageous.
And then it was only when the American troops came in and they said, we want jive music, and they set up the home service or whatever, another service. To think people were, up till that time they had reasonable choice, and all of a sudden, because there's a war, for some reason you can't listen to entertainment. They closed down movie theatres, shows, everything. And the BBC, and they censored a lot of stuff. It's just,
Cultural gatekeepers, moral gatekeepers.
Lord, what's his name? Reith.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, he was shocking.
I've had the call, so I better go.
Thanks for you around, Frank.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Do Thunderbirds?
Yes, I will.
I'll run the recorder on.
Put the recorder on because you might enjoy it. I'll put that on shortly.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
Cheers, Dave.
Cheers, Frank.
Yeah, it's...
VK3, everybody, this is VK3JR, is clear.
Yeah, cheers, Frank. Have a good evening, and we'll catch up with you probably on Friday, I expect.
Forward, Steve.
There won't be any missions for me until Friday. But, yep, that'll be good. All right, have a nice week. And, it's incredible to sort of look at to contemplate the extent of these types of restrictions and how far-reaching it was and how everyone, well, most people just towed the line. There was no sort of, especially in Britain, they're very compliant sort of people. But,
well, we're compliant too. I mean,
I suppose
it's amazing how compliant people can be. If they said we have to close down radio and TV, people say, oh, yeah, okay, well, fair enough.
I think if you close down the internet, I think there would be a hue and cry, though. I think young people, I think that they sort of, they were the ones who heralded those sort of social changes in Britain, and you know it took the pop music and the needs of the younger people to sort of herald the changes, really.
Oh yeah, look, I think if radio and TV closed down, it wouldn't be as big a deal as if the internet did.
Yeah, I think people wouldn't. I think most people don't watch TV and radio really. Anyone under 40 probably doesn't. I sample my students; they don't even know what radio is.
They have no idea.
They don't even know what it is. It's just completely out of their. Yeah. What's radio?
I'm surprised that it's still going. Because if I was talking about the demise, like 15 years ago, the demise, particularly of AM, would be gone by now.
Yeah.
FM was down. I mean, and it seems to be powering on. For God,
well, people live longer. People live longer. They have more active lives, and I think as long as the Beatles generation, are still around, or maybe the generation after that, my generation. Mine might be the last. Yeah. I don't think there's many people in their 30s who know much about radio at all. No. So that's probably it.
I think, and I'm back again. Hello, just taking a break. But I'm just listening in with interest. But I also think that technologically too, we're at a bit of a nexus because of we've arrived at a point now with an NBN and those sorts of things. I can see a point down the track where, particularly from a bean counting perspective, I think AM radio will probably survive because of how it can cover ground and in cases of emergencies and things. It's that fallback that anyone can receive on very basic instruments. But I can see it even take television broadcasting where before too long, now that the infrastructure's in, and already streaming services are everywhere, where they will look at, be it 7, 9, 10 and the ABC and SBS, they'll say, well, why do we need to run all these transmitters too? They consume a lot of power, they're very expensive to maintain. We can provide that service down the fibre. And people will it'll become an extension of the functionality of the network, and it may even become more, on demand instead of a program time slot thing. And why continue transmitting on all these transmitters all over the place, and the cost that and power usage, it's just not necessary technologically anymore.
No, it certainly isn't. And I think the chat, like, I'm not used to people sit and go, oh, I've got such TV shows on, I've got to go and stop having tea and watch it. That's old-fashioned. Imagine having to do that. And, I think TV is probably going to go first because FM, if you want to set up a 10-watt FM station, costs nothing. But, I think TV, it's big infrastructure, sending all out this digital stuff. And, most people have NBN or internet. If you're in the country, you use satellite TV. So it is all these big towers of Mount Cootha and Mount Dandenong. Really, they're thing of the Ice Age.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think the nature of programs changed so much. Younger folk just don't want a half-hour time slot. They want to have...
but like their own, podcast or vodcast where they just grab it whenever they like.
Yeah, exactly. And also sort of TikTok-y type things where you get that sort of... I don't know, a very sharp and shiny package that morphs into something else, and you can just sort of you can control, or to some degree, or seemingly control your journey of the YouTube phenomenon. I think that all of that sort of thing's going to be the in home production. I think mainstream production's just going to die in the arse.
People making their own stuff, and like there are very few TV programs. If you're into sport and stuff, it's a different thing, I suppose. But were very few TV programs. Maybe once a week there'd be something I actually really enjoyed. Most of them was just watching because there's nothing else. Now I can watch Tech Moan or something. Or I don't watch stuff I'm not interested in. I watch the things I want to see. So the TV offers me nothing.
No.
There's so many channels of crap, you know.
Yep. Well, again, younger people don't even know what TV is. They don't watch TV.
Yeah, they use a screen to play their computer on.
Absolutely, and they use screen to use their social media interface, and everything's dished up on their platform now, and so
that's kind of been the shift too, isn't it? It's the multi-platform, be it a handset, be it a tablet, be it a computer screen, be it a television in the corner connected to the internet, a smart television.
Yeah,
and as you rightly point out too, you know, be it TikTok or YouTube or whatever, it's also the rise of the home content creator who now puts stuff up that seems to resonate with more people, and they want to watch that because that's kind of, I'm interested in that, or that's, you know, similar stuff to what I do, or
sure,
and I can pick it up when I like in bits and pieces, and not only that, but unlike conventional television where these people, it's, you know, that very aloof, distant. With these guys, you can give them feedback instantly and get responses from the program creator too. So it's that, you know, it's more kind of interactive.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, look. Yeah. And the thing is, more aloof. You have your TV presenters that go and do things and do shows like the Attenborough types, talking a posh voice. That really pisses me off. That I used to think the BBC voice was so good. Now I realise just ripping off the public. What right have they got? Of course, they've got some posh voice, went to some posh school to tell others what to do. You want to hear people talking in your language, giving their stuff, and as you say there, Frank, the people doing videos and podcasts about things you're interested in a voice and language you can understand without being, you know, sounding like they're well above you.
Yeah.
I just cannot go back and even watch a TV documentary. The way they're constructed and the way they're talking at you, it's just it's just rubbish.
Well, it's pitched at a different demographic. I mean, you've moved on, and you've sort of kept an open mind to how things change. And
I think there's still a place for the really high quality production documentaries and stuff, and, you know, serials perhaps. But then we're talking the really high-quality stuff, you know, that's like super big budget, be it an Attenborough or something
or
like that.
Or like IMAX type things?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. I think there'll always be a place for that, and they'll have a market. But I think, this now where you're seeing all of this, particularly, like, let's say, the reality stuff, you know, you look at the kind of stuff that's on air. I mean, the ratings for that stuff has fallen through the floor, and obviously with it, their revenue streams must be. And so, obviously, their days are numbered on all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah, because people are doing much better reality stuff in their homes.
They do it at home.
Why do you need to watch it on TV?
Look, networks would give anything to have the watchership of someone like PewDiePie or one of some of these.
No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And Anne's been watching the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But you look on the computer, you can watch all the games, different sports, a million channels. You watch what you want. Why would you want to watch via 7mate? They give you one feed that they think is good for you.
Yep.
And it's just nothing. It's crap.
Yeah.
They keep cutting from one thing to another.
Yep.
You can look at what you like, anytime you like, in better quality.
And live feeds as well.
It's like
multiple live feeds.
There.
It's so true. My younger son William he's obsessed with the Olympic Games, and he's doing exactly the same thing as watching the whole lot through just through other sources. It's got two or three screens with different things happening, and not even worrying about the mainstream.
That's right here. The watching on, they've got the big screen, 2 laptops and a couple of phones, and they're watching 4 or 5 things at once. And it's like being there in the different venues, just pick what you want to watch at the time.
That's right, to switch it through. Yeah, I know. It's a different type of viewing experience and expectation, and I think the days of it's only a matter of time before it all dissolves and we enter into a different.
I think so, but I think radio is probably going to last longer because of the sort of medium it is. You have it on when you're doing the garden.
Well, you can multitask. That's the thing. You can, and also, I think as long as our generation are around, I think it'll because I think there are reasonable listenerships of the 50 plus group, which is a sizable audience.
Yeah.
So that's all sort of holding its own.
And there will always be radio. It won't be on AM or FM, but there'll be something like radio with a continuous stream of music or talk or whatever you want to hear.
Or look at the plight of the DJ. The DJs, the sort of the club DJs, they're celebrities. These DJs, and
that's right.
And so DJ so and so, and they make their own mixes, and they sort of break things up and repackage them, and so they sort of become quite creative. I suppose it's the equivalent to a DJ of old in some respects, but the very fact is that they rebrand things, and so it's a much more sort of active, creative endeavour, I think. So adding different beats in, and there's a sort of a different way it's all packaged.
That's right.
So interesting though.
Now I was doing work here, building mitters and stuff, and I thought, look, I should listen to the radio. I've got an FM tuner here, the Yamaha, and I turn it on, tuned around to see. I should listen to some of these, community stations, hear what's happening.
Oh yeah.
In the end, I turned it off, went back to the internet, and just listened to some mixes there.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Because it seems to be more choice, the sort of stuff I want to hear.
Yeah, fair enough. No, look, I don't listen to main free to air radio.
It's ridiculous, really, that it's radio's a thing to be on, not to listen to. Like you never listen to it much, yet you're
well, that's right. It's more fun being on, but no one listens to you, so it's just sort of a weird sort of expression of sorts. But no, it's better being on it than listening to it.
Well, as I said, TV's to be on, not to watch.
Yes. Yeah, interesting one. Anyhow, so I think we'll see it all change in our lifetimes. It's a paradigm shift. When you think of if you bookend your lives, when you were young, it was the finger in the sky and the Big Brother.
Oh yeah, the electric finger in the sky.
That's right, and within a short life, it's all changes.
Yeah, well, radio's been going over 100 years, so pretty good innings.
Well, not bad.
Technology.
Not bad. No, it's hung in there. Certainly, the fact that AM's still there is quite remarkable, really.
Well, in the 40s, it was all FM. They said, AM will be around for another, decade or so you don't have to sell your set yet. And it's still going.
It's all those HRSA people, they're lobbying. No. It's crazy. That's it. No, it's enduring. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, so we'll... look, it's a fascinating one. It's hard to be objective because we're so caught up in all of the changes. But I do observe quite strongly that young people are very disconnected with all the old media, and they don't want anything to do with it. Partly because they want to be independent and find their own systems, but they really don't know what anything is of this kind.
Well, why would you really?
It's always been that way, really, but it's sort of more obvious because their platforms are so ubiquitous, I suppose. But interesting one. Yeah.
So I suppose it's. But see, we've been talking this same subject for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. And that's still carrying on, even though...
it is, but the other platform...
changing.
Yeah, but I think the complexity and the mode of delivery, the speed of delivery, the portability of media, all these things are sort of making it far more accessible to younger people. So I think it's just developing more currency for that. Yeah, and I think we're just the old ossified brigade who just sort of hang in there and stand and hold on to our old media and commentate on it. But I think, but there's other stuff happening. I mean,
well, as I say, but yet play with it, but I get all our information, entertainment from the new media.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, I do. I mean, I endeavour to. I want to. I want to challenge myself to be sort of more in the. Yeah, but the very fact that we just talk about it is is funny.
Like you listen to some of these, the old stations, like the one nearby here. The music's so predictable. When there's a whole universe of music they can play.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And it's sort of...
Well, you can formulate playlists of such diversity now, even on Spotify, on anything.
I know, yeah.
You can make the most incredible. But, of course, you do need... I think the algorithms do help steer people, whether they accept the directions or not, or they give them choice. But I find that sometimes something pops up that I had no idea about. And then, so that's an interesting phenomenon too.
Yep. So if you want to spend a few hours, you can go hunting, and you can go on some interesting deviations through the algorithms to stuff you've never heard before, never knew it existed.
Yeah.
And other things as well. It's quite amazing. Once you have to go down and buy your records from Theobald's record shop.
That's right.
Play your 45s. How would you ever know something else?
Well, that's right. And you only bought them because Stan the man told you to.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's it. You were basically told this is it. This is the hit. This is the hit list.
And when Chris Winter started Room to Move on ABC on 3LO, it was a pilot program, an hour a week or something, and that was the first program that actually played out of the way sort of music.
Okay.
You haven't heard of Room to Move?
I don't think so, no.
Look it up. Look up Room to Move.
Room to Move. Okay, Chris Winter. I've written it down.
Yep. Okay. Groundbreaking stuff. And I listened to it, and just before Mr. Cumes, we both recorded the first program.
Right.
And it was, of course, you said some innings there was music and there was stuff out there we didn't know about, like album shows and things like that. And Room to Move started. And I've got his first announcement because Chris Winter died a couple of years back or something. But yeah, that was the start of, then it became, I think, a couple of hours a week on the main network, 3LO, whatever it was in the city. And it really morphed into Triple J. And all those people on Room to Move went to work on Triple J.
Okay.
And that was a new sort of music that used to come through. And it was the first time on mainstream air that other sorts of music and groups were given an airing.
Sure.
And it was. I was amazed listening to the first episode of it.
Yeah.
That this stuff exists. This is amazing.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Well, it's nice to hear something a bit eclectic.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of it wasn't. So, I've written that down. I will read up about them and find out more.
Oh, no, I thought you would have known. But
no, it's not on my radar. I think I've heard of it, but I just don't really know.
Yeah, about 60 sometime, I think.
Yeah, see, 60s, well, that's out of my past band. I mean, I found programs like Mr. Kavaricek's program gave me sort of insights into a lot of ambient music I would never have known otherwise, or just different sound worlds. And, there are a few, quite progressive presenters who sort of had some imagination for different things.
Yeah. See, and Room to Move was before FM and
right.
So it was well before.
Yep.
Once FM started, it was a different ball game.
Sure.
But
okay.
Yeah. So that
good.
Was
yeah, that's nice to hear of these things. It's good to know. I mean, I do one program I try and listen to if I can. If I'm not busy on a Friday afternoon, I do listen to Burning Vinyl, and because I quite enjoy some of the weird and wonderful pop sounds that he dredges up. I always think that's an interesting insight into pop music, usually sort of obscure bands. Get a Guernsey on that program. And but look, it's good to know about things. But it's interesting how the algorithms work on those YT and Spotify. They seem to sort of pick up, and that's a fascinating phenomenon in itself. Just the whole business of how is it directed? What's the equation that gives us our kick, and how much are we in control?
We're not really, but
yes. I mean, this is probably quite a grand illusion that we're participating in here. we're probably all getting sort of gently nudged and we feel like we're empowered, but in actual fact, those boxes on the side of the YouTube channel that just sort of materialise.
But as you say, it's no different to Stan the Man saying you should rush out and buy this record.
No, that's right.
It's just more subtle, I suppose.
Well, the thing is, you have choice. You can click on it and check it out and see where it leads, or you don't have to. And I suppose you had a choice not to get a record, but if everyone with Stan the Man tells you, all your friends are going to get it as well. So there's it's sort of a more singular, defined peer group, sort of thing.
And when, like, all the kids had some had hundreds of 45s.
Right.
And I only had a few.
Yeah.
But see, I was a cheapskate.
Yeah.
I used to record them onto the Pyrex tape, hit parade and the Pyrex tape recorder.
Yes.
And a few people did that to make mixtapes, which was a hobby in itself, really, doing all that. And you think, gee, I'm getting all this music and it's not costing me, $1 a 45.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've still got some of the mixtapes. And when I listen to them with their bad edits and everything like that, it brings back the time,
Yes, I'm sure it does.
16 or 17 or something.
Oh, look, I'm sure it
made back, and you think, the bad edit crunches into an ad here and it chops and goes into something else. You're expecting it, and when it happens, yes, you've come back to being in fourth form.
Yes, it's usually those incidental things that sort of the triggers, aren't they? The sort of the messy edit or the bad start or the clip beginning, and you suddenly there's little faults and idiosyncrasies that sort of resonate. It's funny that isn't it ironic though that a lot of these sort of this type of thing, I used to do something similar on cassettes as a kid. I edit out all the voiceovers and just get the music, and that would, in hindsight, that'd be the great thing to have. Would be the personalities of these.
I know the record is still there on YouTube.
Yes,
but the talk isn't.
The talk isn't there.
Yeah.
So that's a bit ironic, but yeah, I think a lot of people probably did that.
Yeah.
And
I used to. I got a cassette machine, so then I'd record on the Pyrox and edit down to the cassette.
Yep.
And then I've got some of the original tapes that before I edited, they've got the announcements and things.
Oh, okay.
But it's and of course once you edit down from a Pyrox to a cassette, the quality wasn't that good as a cheap cassette player.
Yeah.
But that muffled, splatty
yes.
cassette sound is sort of a sound, isn't it?
Oh, it is a sound. It's a lo-fi sound. There, people
and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a sound.
It is a sound. It's a signature sound of a medium. And that's something that I'm glad that Techmoan sort of addresses quite well. And he doesn't sort of trash a technology because of its lo-fi-ness or whatever. And I think he addresses that. And I think it's something that's really relevant. It might be full of distortion and full of crap and bad reproduction, but it's all it is a sound, and it's a characteristic, and I think it's important. Full of wow and flutter and dropouts and things, and sometimes the dropouts, even little things like that, you sort of think it brings back that world. You're right.
That's right.
Yeah.
What I found with reel-to-reel tapes in stereo, when you listen on your Sennheiser headphones, you have the best quality tape, whatever, running at 7.5. There are always dropouts one ear, next ear. It's never constant.
No, it's never constant.
And that was worse than... I didn't care about the hiss and the distortion or whatever because it was quite low. But the dropouts were ever present. I
know, it's really disconcerting.
And that's the thing about digital. It's
solid as a rock, isn't it?
Solid as a rock. And I just find the bass is so much better in digital. You'd think the treble would be better, but no, it's the bass is just a different thing in digital. It's just for some reason.
No, it's so much tighter, and it's just it just probably reflects the fact that there are so many distortion products in
You're probably right.
in the older media. Turntable rumble, vinyl raw, all these things sort of add to the mix, don't they? Yeah, so that's the thing. Yes, sometimes digital's a bit too clean for me.
Depends how it's recorded or...
No, look, I think it's fine. I mean, yes, certainly for a good sonic experience, I'd much rather listen to digital anytime. But occasionally... sometimes some 80s music, digital, it can sound really... there's a sort of digital edge, which the early... some of the early stuff is not so good. But
some of the CDs.
Yeah, some of the early CDs. Right. But look, that's neither here nor there.
It could have been early processing.
Well, it could have been, but look, it's nothing really. In the scheme of things, certainly orders of magnitude better, and would be, I'd turn to that technology anytime rather than vintage technology for dedicated listening, that's for sure.
Well, it's just, vinyl people, I don't know.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Swarf noise.
Yeah, I know. It's all there.
It's always there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's just...
It depends on what you want from the experience.
Yeah,
if you're into the theatre of putting a vinyl like
the sound. Look, it's great,
Yeah.
But you couldn't say it's better.
No, God, no. Not at all. Never better. It's a sound. It's all it is. It's a sound and an experience, and it's theatre.
It's ingrained in people's minds.
Yeah.
And
it's the rituals. The ritual of taking the cover off and looking at it and all of those things. It's a whole body experience. So,
out-of-body experience.
Yes.
And you got the Swarf noise, and we did that test here with the Autophon cartridge and a CD. Yeah. The CD just had body that the record didn't.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It would. No, in terms of sonic experiences,
immediate.
No starter.
Obviously, the transients are there and all sort of stuff. But it's people get used to it, just like watching a grainy movie.
Yeah.
It's the art.
Yes.
Like if The Third Man was shot in digital 8K, it would not be the same movie.
It wouldn't be the same. That's so true.
People wouldn't rate.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's a whole movement looking at lo-fi Super 8 films. Because of their sort of shaky, grainy character, it's sort of a film noir experience, and people like
There's
that.
Nothing so wrong with that.
No, that's
in fact, I was thinking, I looked at one of those things. I thought, gee, maybe all my old Super 8 stuff, I should put them on the web because it might be exciting for people. That shaky thing and scratches and the Kodak thing coming up at the end of the film and the dots and the...
it's a brand of authenticity. It's a signature of the times. It captures the experience, and that's the way it was. It was always furry. It was always grainy, but we endured that, and that's imprinted in our consciousness. I think it might be different. I don't know how it is for someone younger who's never experienced this stuff generically and comes back to it. I don't know how it... But then again, retro's in. People like retro for various aesthetic reasons.
Well,
and
that's
so,
right.
there's always going to be a niche that's interested to some level.
Have you seen that Techmoan one on the digital recorder, the home digital recorder?
I don't think... Is that a recent one?
It might be reasonably recent.
Okay. I don't think I've seen it.
Sony or someone brought out a VHS cassette thing that recorded digital audio.
Oh, yes.
And it was before CDs.
Oh, right.
So it's really groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And he's got hold of one. It works perfectly, apparently.
Okay.
And it never took on because the only thing, unless you recorded from mics and recorded a band, there was nothing of better quality to record onto it.
Yeah.
It was one of the first. Before that was like studios full of racks of stuff to record digital.
Yeah.
Then they introduced this first you could record it onto a converter box thing, but this was a standalone like a VHS recorder, but it's quite nice. It was only designed for audio, and he tested it out. Said it sounds really good. It's 14 bits instead of 16, but he couldn't tell the difference between the two and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But an amazing piece of equipment. Like a Zoom recorder would do just the same.
Yes.
But imagine building that back in the early 1970s or something.
Yeah, it would have been a revelation.
Yeah, and it's all just stacked with cards inside and everything. You can imagine how complex it is.
Yes. I'll have to have a look at that. It'd be interesting to see how he describes it, because he gives a lot of social history to these projects. He's
one of the best, I think.
I think so. He's fairly self-effacing, and he's just he sees it for what it is, and he's not trying to pretend to be anything else. He's not trying to be an expert. He's just sort of fascinated and curious.
Oh, yeah.
So that's always a good thing. But
and I think because he's not a techno nerd, know-it-all.
Yeah.
That it's not like someone telling you about because they know it all. He knows less than probably half the viewers.
Yeah.
But the fact he's inclined to have a play with it and pull it to bits and look inside and try and get it to work to see what the effect was like, in the early days.
Well, he sort of introduces that every person's perspective of just how would anyone off the street interact with this, and just sort of cajole it and try and make it work, and if it doesn't work, just talk about it and be a bit curious and a bit sort of, rather than sort of say, I'm the expert, here we are, this is this, and I'm the font of all knowledge. He's he's great the way he sort of he departs from that sort of traditional way of introducing technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. No, I'll have to check that one out. That'd be interesting. But you're right. There would have been no other technology of its kind. You sort of need a critical mass of similar technologies to bounce off or to give context to things.
Well, see, it was a standalone thing.
Yeah.
Say you did record something in digital. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You can't, unless you had two of those machines, you can't transfer it to someone. I suppose you could make cassettes or tapes of good quality from it.
Yes.
But, it sort of it was very expensive.
Yes, sure.
I had a device here that you could plug into a VHS machine and record digital sound on it.
Oh, yes.
In the video portion.
Oh, yes.
And I think I might have given it away.
Yeah.
It was I thought, gee, this is a really great thing. I could make digital recordings. Well, why do I need to when I've got computers and, stuff?
Yeah.
And it had a nice bar graph and stuff.
Okay.
But it would have been a really expensive thing once. And,
so is that the hi-fi video recording format, was it? Or is that something else you're talking about?
No. You get a video recorder, you buy it in 1970.
Yeah.
And this box turned the video, the audio, into a data stream.
Oh, I see.
That could be recorded as video in high bandwidth in the video track.
I see.
And then converted back to a complete digital recorder.
Okay, gosh.
And
wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
In fact, Mr. Techmoan gets one of the tapes, the digital sound tapes, and plays them in a VHS machine.
Yeah.
He said, I wonder what this is like. And it's fascinating. Yeah. It's like a cue code appearing in and out of the screen as the music's playing and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's got audible cues in it.
Well, no, it looks like that.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, on the screen, of course. Yes.
Because on the screen, so you can actually see
I'm with you, yeah.
the video encoded, probably because it's
that's right. It's probably categorised somehow. It's probably got some physical attribute.
The VHS is trying to encode video out of the digital noise and sort of making funny patterns and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is a really quite fascinating.
It is. It's really quite. It's interesting.
But these devices, they used to use them at pneumatics first to record digital on pneumatics. I think the ABC did that with the show band and stuff. They went from tape to recording on digital into a pneumatic recorder.
Right.
And it was full 16-bit studio quality.
Yes.
And then they made them to work with VHS machines and beta machines, so you could a lot cheaper to do that, and the tape was cheaper.
Yes.
And then they had dedicated D2 or whatever, D1 machines and all that stuff. And
yes, I think recording studios used Betamax and VHF tapes, didn't they? In sort of dedicated. What were they called? I can't remember. It wasn't ADAT. There was a format that they used. I've seen it with 8 tracks on a digitally encoded on a standard video cassette. Yeah. So there must have been a range of different approaches.
Yeah, well, it's a cheap way out, really. All you need is an electronic box and then buy a video recorder.
That's it. Yeah, it's all very contained.
It's got the bandwidth to do it.
Yes, that's it. By nature, it does.
And so. Yeah, quite fascinating.
It is. Yeah, no, look, it is. I'll have to catch up with some Techmoans. I haven't seen him for a while, but he certainly, does a great job profiling all this stuff. Yeah, it's good.
It's interesting to see different ways of people who present their shows or their videos, and you can't emulate what you do yourself, but it's interesting to get other people's. See how people do it, and there's a Techmoan way, there's other people way they do videos and things.
That's right.
And I think originally they just did it their own way. Then that becomes like a meme, and people try and follow that. Then that splits off to something else.
Yes.
And you get all different, a mixed match of different types of presentation.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a good thing when you did your takeoff, Mr. What's his name? The EVB and the other guy who topped himself.
Oh yes,
Aussie 50. I thought that was really quite an interesting thing to do because it sort of it just brings into he just sort of did it as a bit of a joke, but it brings into profile the fact that people do have mannerisms and have a sort of a style or manner and approach. And to parody it a bit, I think, is not a bad idea.
Yeah, they're fun to do. And you could parody Mr. Techmoan, I suppose.
You probably
mild-mannered.
Yeah, mild-mannered sort of Englishman. But the thing is, he remains really consistent because he's obviously highly edited. You know, his production.
He spends hours doing it.
His production values are very high.
It's a massive production, yeah.
But it does flow, and he's very consistent in his approach, and he doesn't sort of lose it, or there's no irregularity. It's very sort of very slick, really.
Oh yeah. Well, he makes money.
That's his income, really, I suppose.
It's probably he doesn't mind spending 12 hours a day because that's how he makes his living.
That's how he does it.
And it's better than say doing it to some TV production company and then them telling you what to do, and he can do what he wants.
Yeah, well, he's on top of his craft. He knows exactly how to manage, how to work it all, and it's he's a great classic case of the successful self-producer.
See, people like that would never get a Guernsey in the old TV world.
They certainly wouldn't. They'd be just marginalised and pushed out because they didn't become a clone of a particular model. Yeah, that's it. But I'll have to catch up on some of his. It's such an interesting subject. Well, look, I'm afraid I'm going to have to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've
not at all.
You haven't run your Thunderbirds episode.
I'll put a Thunderbirds on, and we'll wind up with that today. So we'll catch up soon. And thank you. It's been always good to have a chat and catching up with Mr. Franks earlier on as well. So we'll see what we've got on the list. We'll check in with that. I'm going to have to go and cook the dinner for everyone in a minute. So let's see. Now, these are some of the radio. Oh, heck, I've got to turn the stream off. I've got to be careful about this. I don't want another strike.
The lucky strike.
It could be the unlucky strike that knocks me off my perch. So we'll terminate the stream at this point. And if anyone is interested, you can go to the secondary stream.